Are live.
Sweet.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this live stream. Today we're going to be talking about how to learn Chinese. And today we actually have Kwadwo from Elementary Chinese.
Hello.
We've done a video before, but today we are here together to talk to you guys about learning Chinese and the best ways to learn the language. So Kwadwo, can you please introduce yourself a little bit so these lovely people know who you are?
Right, well, hopefully I'm seeing you again. If not, and this is the first time, hi, my name is Kwadwo. I'm the creator of Elementary Chinese, where I help Mandarin learners literally clarify their goals in their learning strategy and then learn how to make practical study plans so that you can not just achieve one goal, but achieve your goal after goal after goal after goal. And then your progress is increasing, your momentum is going up, and your confidence in yourself and your ability to communicate Chinese is skyrocketing. I want you to successfully learn Chinese.
Yes, I absolutely love that so much. I think that the confidence is a big part, and then also understanding what you're saying. Everything just fits so perfectly together. I think what you do really puts it all together really nicely. So if you're not Elementary Chinese, y'all gotta go right now. YouTube, Instagram, go do it.
Thank you. I mean, I'm the creator of this program that I do this in. It's called the DIY Chinese Community, and it's basically providing community for everyone like you, maybe, who's studying Chinese on your own, but in your home country, not in China. So it's like, though we're studying on our own, it doesn't have to be alone. How cheesy, I know. But there's a link to that community, which is opening up soon, in the descriptions below. But right now, thank you, Jin. You have tons of questions, and I'm just here to give you guys the best strategy to learn Chinese. So ask questions away in the chat, and we have some prepared questions to answer, right, Jin?
Yes, yes. So I went on my community tab, and I went on my Instagram, and I've been asking you guys, what questions do you have that we can talk about on this live? So I'm really excited. But first, I do want to ask you some questions based off of just what I want to know about you.
Yeah, and, sure.
I know that you teach Chinese, but I want to know, why did you start learning Chinese? What got you interested in the culture?
So, geez. Okay, so two things. I'll tell you what really frustrated me when I took Chinese classes, and I'll tell you exactly what got me interested in the culture of Chinese. Not a Chinese girl, actually. A French girl got me interested in the culture. Very quickly, I used to work in Paris, France, and I went on a date with this French girl who was stereotypically Parisian, of model-esque proportions, and she was cool. So she went on a date with me, but the whole date she was talking about this African guy who she knew, and apparently he was so cool because he was married to a Chinese lady and he spoke Chinese. He worked with Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. Sorry, my back itches. And so the whole date, basically, she talked about this guy, and she didn't seem that interested in me, but she talked about him. So my 19-year-old single brain was like, French girls, Chinese, French girls, Chinese. So I bought a Chinese book and I went back to work and I started learning on the job, reading the Chinese book. And then when I went back to the University of Washington in the US of A, right near where I was born, I signed up for a Chinese class. And the rest is 1 year Chinese at UW, and then studied for 2 years in Beijing abroad, and lived in China for 10 years since then. But what frustrated me was studying abroad in China and not being able to communicate outside. I had to work like you did, right, Jin?
Yeah.
Hard at learning Chinese. But then I went outside to where I wanted to connect and communicate with people, and I couldn't because there was a huge gap between what I was learning in the classroom and what was outside. And so I guess now I'm kind of dedicated to helping people study the right way and learn the right way from the beginning, so they don't make the mistake I did and kind of have to backtrack and rewire their learning process.
Yeah, I totally get that. So you really fell in love with the culture and you lived there for so long. That's crazy. But I completely agree with what you're saying when it comes to what you actually want to communicate with people. Sometimes it is different than what you learn in the classroom. I think that is the hardest part. I remember when I was in China, I went to learn Chinese, right? And it's every day they were just pounding it into you. But what was nice about that particular program is they got me to go and interview people. So that really got me out of my comfort zone and a bit more comfortable in that way. But yeah, that I can agree is the most difficult part. And so what made you want to teach people?
Teaching people was a very simple decision. It was people asked me all the time to learn, first of all, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. People asked me to learn, and I was always answering questions, but really what motivated me to teach was a very simple thing. It was the birth of my daughter, and instead of being at work, because I was working in an international school in Tianjin, China, next to Beijing, I thought, I really want to do something like my own deal, my own business. And I was like, well, what do I always do? Well, people are always asking me about Chinese. And so I started trying to teach Chinese online. And now we're like 3 years later.
Amazing. I love that. I love hearing these origin stories. It makes me so happy and like inspired. It's like you really can do anything if you really want to, So I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to quickly say hello to everyone in the chat. You guys are lovely. Thank you for all saying hello. It makes me feel so good. So hello.
Shout out to Autumn Ratledge, who is actually inside of, well, we've studied together. We know Autumn, and the Asian enthusiast. Happy. Hello.
Hi guys, welcome. Okay, so let's get straight into some of these questions because we've got a lot, So let me just figure out how we're using this thing, okay? Because we can bring up banners here. Okay.
The banners there, I love them.
So I guess the first question here is just the simple one. I guess you kind of already answered this, but it's why do you learn Chinese? See, you kind of already did this. So I guess I can just tell you guys because I enjoy the culture. I started learning because of a friend. We worked together and I could also take some extra classes at my university. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take some Chinese. Ended up loving my teacher and the class so much that the next summer I was in China. So that's my origin story.
No, that's a good one. I love just communicating like you with Chinese people. And my first study abroad was only a year after. So you actually went to China a semester after studying abroad. So you did it quicker than I did.
Yeah, 2 semesters actually. I started learning in September and I went in July. Yeah, it was,
okay.
Still very beginner level though. It's kind of scary going right then. I thought, but the funny thing is I go to China and I was like, I can do this. I was like, no problem. I was trying to talk to so many people, but then it's like they either didn't understand me or they talked too fast, so I couldn't understand them. So there was, and so my confidence level dropped a little bit. But I look back at it and I just think it's kind of funny,
It's okay. Yeah. Oh, I get it. I completely get it. I had many issues in the beginning where I could not be understood. And naturally, unfortunately, our brains are so negative. And I always try to help people push through that negativity and focus on the positive. But I feel silly when I can't be understood. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my tones? Did I make my sound wrong? Why don't they understand me? I start sweating. It's bad. So I totally get it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this next question, I am really excited to kind of know what you have to say about this. Okay. So, how can you tell if a Chinese speaker is speaking in Standard Mandarin?
You can't unless you're good. So we do learn Standard Mandarin in schools, right? But the thing in China is there are, how does it work? Is it 54 or 56 minorities? 54? 55? There are many different dialects in China, and they're called dialects for various reasons, but they're not all of them are dialects. Some of them are as different as Vietnamese from Thai. And you wouldn't say that French is a dialect of German, would you? All spoken in Europe, but Europe has different dialects? No, because our European friends would say, what is wrong with you? So in China, there's so many different languages spoken, and there are actually some true dialects. So how can you tell if somebody's speaking Standard Mandarin? Are you setting me up? I feel like you wouldn't be able to tell unless you had a solid base of Mandarin, or you could ask them, are you speaking Mandarin? 讲的是 讲 is to speak or 说, right? I like to say 讲, right? 讲的是 and then 普通话, because 普通话is the word for Mandarin is 普通话. And if you ask them if they're speaking 普通话, then they will tell you yes or no. 普通meaning average or the common, and 话 being the word for speak, language, speech. So the common speech, the 普通话. And if they say no, they could be speaking the Hua that comes from some other area in China, like Shanghai Hua is Shanghainese. There.
Yeah, okay, that all makes sense. See, I didn't even know some of those details, so I'm not like even you just explaining it kind of
Oh,
stuff.
really? Okay, cool. All right.
There's always some things that you might not know that you'll bring in, and I love learning new things. So I'm glad, like when you walk through it like that, I love it.
You're being nice. I know you knew that already.
Okay, so let's see here. Okay, wait, I'm kind of like trying to figure out how to use this application. Okay, so this one I find is, I actually had a lot of people ask me this question, so I kind of just compiled them all. There are two here that kind of address this, and it is how to acquire a more native accent.
Okay. Easiest way, and this is actually something that I do advise people inside of the DIY Chinese community, and it's something I'll be teaching on Sunday, so you can sign up if you want to learn about this more in depth. But the easiest way, and it's the way I did it, I can only really speak from my experience and how I've coached other people already. I listened to audio repetitively, so many times to work on my accent in the beginning. And this is going to be good for you if you already have a Chinese book or a textbook, because in those books, then hopefully you can order the audio, or they already came with audio, and you have a CD. And even if you have no CD player like me, then find some way to make that CD into MP3 audio. But listen to it. Better with text that you already understand, but just repeat and repeat and repeat, because as you know, tones are crazy hard. But harder than tones is getting the tones right in phrases. And so if you are saying the phrases over and over again, you're working on your intonation throughout the phrase at the sentence level, not just the word level. And that will help you sound more native, in quotes. How about we just say it will help you be understandable, and you get to native level sounding accent speech through practice with native. So hop online and find yourself a language partner, or shout out to the Asian enthusiast who is in the chat right here, but she is an amazing singer. Jin, do you do karaoke too? Lots of karaoke?
Once in a while, yeah.
I haven't done it in a long time either, but one thing I notice is that the people that practice speaking more sound better if they practice with natives or audio. And her jam is, she's a good singer and she's always singing Chinese songs. And her Mandarin sounds really good. And it's because of the exposure that she consistently has to the language. So those two things, practice with audio and text, and sing lots of music.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I feel like I'm not saying I have any kind of native accent at all. I'm just saying I'm still learning with you guys. But I find that what has been helping me is also watching TV shows, listening to the music.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you make a really good point as well in saying that, like, if you repeat what people are saying, or like if you watch a TV show and repeat a sentence or something like that, then you get the flow of the whole sentence rather than just the words. Because sometimes I feel like when you're speaking and you're speaking fast, you can't, I guess, like really focus on the tone of every word. You have to focus on the flow almost of the whole sentence. So I feel like that's a big thing. So repetition, listening to things like songs really helps you, like, I don't know,
Sure.
flow of the sounds.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are really good strategies. Yeah.
It sounds like you got the strategies right too.
Got to keep working on it though. I'm still not there yet, but hopefully one day we'll make our way there. Yeah.
Hey, you know what though? It's about the connection. Like, because somebody that shows that they care about Mandarin and is just genuine when they talk to people, as long as they like make an effort, that connection can start. And you start making that connection once, and you're able to make it again, and the language just travels across that bridge of language. So
yeah, exactly. And I also want to point out, like finding opportunities to speak with native speakers is really like a good thing to do, especially like even if you're not in China. Like, for example, Autumn, who's also in the chat, I know that she went to a bubble tea shop the other day and ordered bubble tea in Mandarin, and that's like one step. It's like if you can just start by ordering something small, or like that, or go to a tea shop and start talking to the boss guy, and like there's so many like little ways, or get yourself a language partner. I love that. That was like my method when I first started learning. Like literally, I was only in for maybe half a semester into learning Chinese, and I was like, gonna get myself a language partner. So I started talking to all these people. Like was like not good though. So like they're speaking like fluent English to me, and I'm like, yeah. So the weather, huh? What's it like over there? So
but you started, and that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, you got to push yourself sometimes, and maybe it'll feel uncomfortable, but the only thing that you can do is like, it is a learning process. Like even if you do something that makes you uncomfortable, the next time it'll be a little bit less uncomfortable, and then less, and then less. So you just gotta push yourself a little bit, get yourself out of that uncomfortable stage. Just do it. Just do it. You know?
You guys, Jen has the advice. Hopefully you're doing it. Like I tell people, there's so much good advice. Like you guys that follow Jen, that subscribe to her channel, like there's so much good advice, but the trap is we're like, oh, it's free, so maybe I won't have to do the free advice, like subconsciously, you know. But treat it like you paid Jen $1,000 for that advice, and then you're like, oh shoot, I better get my money's worth, so I'm going to do it right now. Because if you do that kind of advice, you'll improve, and that's what really matters is improving. It feels so good.
Yes, improving really, really does feel good, and when you see yourself improving, that's another thing too. Yeah, so that's even something like from making YouTube videos as well. It's like I see exactly, like I just did that 30-day challenge, and I see just by speaking more, I feel more confident, and I know that I've learned a few extra words in the middle of there. So it's like once you really challenge yourself as well, then you'll see some improvement, which is very nice. We love to see improvement. Okay. Yes.
What's the next question?
Yes. Okay. I really want to go into the chat here. Let's see if there's any questions in here so far, because I noticed something.
I've been in the chat. I've been doing double duty and responding to people.
You know, I'm new to this whole live thing, so it's very hard for me to go back and forth and like.
Okay, so you look in the chat and find some questions, and I'll just ramble on a bit. Cool. So I'll share a story. This would be Tanya's story. How about Miriam's story? She's a university student, a medical student from Germany who is inside of the DIY Chinese community, which I run, and which you can learn a really cool lesson from in the descriptions below. And she was saying that, let me slide over here because I was actually, yeah, it's my deal, but I was quite surprised when I read what she had to say. And here is what she had to say about her improvement. She said that over the 2 years, she had tried to learn Mandarin before to be fluent, and that she's not quite a DIY Chinese person because she was taking Chinese classes online, but basically, like after joining the community, she saw her motivation got boosted. And that touches me because I'm really trying to help people get over the negativity, because you get so disappointed when you're not making improvements, and it's like, I want you to improve. And so she really enjoyed, like, she said whenever somebody finds a good resource, it's directly recommended to the rest of us inside the community. And then while she was hesitant at first whether or not the community would be right for her, since she was a beginner and studying online, she just found so much improvement, and she liked the progress that she makes with her teammates, because I put people on accountability teams. It's like competition in there every week, so it's kind of cool. You got it? Next question.
Yeah, I have just like, I guess this one kind of ties into like what we were saying before, but is it good to watch Chinese dramas too? And I completely love this idea. That is literally what I do all the time. If I'm not editing a video, I'm watching Chinese dramas.
What's your favorite one?
Oh, goodness gracious.
I put you on the spot. Sorry.
Oh, but there's so many good ones. There's one that recently came out on Netflix, The Triad Princess.
Okay.
It's actually really good, but it only has like one season so far, only 6 episodes, so that's a little sad. But it is a good show. You guys should watch it. There's a little bit of like I guess they speak in more of a Taiwanese accent.
Okay.
Still nice though to watch.
Here, share my screen. I'll show them one right now on YouTube.
Oh, I can share your screen?
You can share my screen. Or can I take it and share it?
Maybe, yeah, do it.
Maybe. Share screen. Boom. There we go. Share. Are you letting me share?
Yes.
Huan Le Song. If you type that in, that's the pinyin. You can see that hopefully, right? And then DEG. DEG is the season, right? Hanle Song is the name. Put that in there and you will find a playlist of Hanle Song. If you are very astute or observative, then you will notice that those are traditional characters. But that's okay, because while the show was replayed in Taiwan, it still is in fact in its original mainland Chinese accent dub. This is a whole series. Plenty of people like it. I recommend it all the time. About 5 girls who moved to a nice new big city to explore, to pursue their future. And they all live in like the same apartment. And like one is like average money and one's like super rich, and they're all just doing their different things, and it's quite an interesting show. So Huan Le Song, if you stop sharing. There you go. We went into like warp zone, but Huan Le Song, if you go to YouTube, you can watch that and start.
Yeah, and we also have a comment here that also recommends that in addition to dramas, you could also just watch YouTube videos, just because maybe that's more everyday and you can actually hear more everyday kind of stuff, and that's a really good idea. So thank you, China Pop, for that. And then one more other question. I'm going to ask this so that maybe you can say, how much do you recommend somebody studies Mandarin?
As many hours as possible. No. Yes, actually. But if I may go in a little deeper and give exactly the advice that I give to people like inside the DIY Chinese community, which is study Mandarin as much as you want, but the motivation is the thing that's going to keep you studying long term. And how I help you make sure that you stay motivated is learn to set very short goals for yourself. I'll talk more about this on Sunday, like I said, but if you set like a 2-week goal for yourself, and if you actually quantify that, as in measure it, like don't just say my goal is to read Chinese or my goal is to watch Chinese shows. It's like my goal is to learn 5 words specific from one episode, right? I can quantify that. I can measure it. I can prove it. So if you do something like that within your Chinese study plan, Ashley, since you asked how many hours to study Mandarin, just make sure at the beginning of your Mandarin studies, when those are as frequent as possible, that you put a little bit of time, like a small chunk, 10 minutes, towards your specific goal. That way you're guaranteeing that, like on the daily if you can, or maybe just 4 times a week if you can, that you're putting in study towards a specific goal, and you set a deadline for yourself, like 2 weeks from now. That way when you get to that deadline, since you decided you're going to prove it because you said you'll learn 5 words, then you can be like, oh, I learned 5 words. Check. And it's something so simple, but what I'm seeing is the people in the community that are setting their goals easily and then achieving them are actually feeling better and feeling excited. And it's like, psychologically speaking, our brains just are happy when we're getting progress. So try that, Ashley, but outside of that goal, just study up like as much as you can.
Yeah, I literally I just feel like these are such good ideas. Like I'm learning even just from you right now. Like I'm like, yes, set a goal and then actually small steps to reach that goal is like blowing my mind. Like how did I not think of that earlier? Sometimes I'm just going to study this pack of cue cards with my friend. I'm going to study 2 packs of cue cards per week and that's it. But it's like, sometimes I don't retain the words or something. So it's like, if I'm actually like, okay, write down sentences for these words or something, right, actually like learn how to use those words, like even if it's just a few a day or something, then that would be so helpful. So I think that's such good advice. Man, y'all got to go to this thing on Sunday.
I'm sure this is my passion. Like I can teach Chinese. I'm certified to teach Chinese, like as a teacher in the state of Florida, like kindergarten through 12. But I feel like the issue right now is there's so many different like free resources online and different paid courses and then all these books, and people just want to know what is the best thing for me and how do I move forward, And so like I really just enjoy giving practical strategies. Like that's what I do in my paid community. So I'm happy to do it here.
Yay. Thank you for sharing some of your wise advice. I love it. I love it. Okay. So there is a question here about tones. Okay. So this one's just funny. Somebody replied and just said tones.
Tones.
One of my question things, but the actual more like is tones. One word is okay, but speaking sentences, I struggle with correct tone management. Do you have any kind of advice or anything? for that.
I do, but you're also pretty good at tones, at learning. So you want to start, or you just want me to answer it?
Okay, so tones, what do I do to Kate? I actually have I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys, 100% real. Sometimes I speak and I have no idea if what I'm saying is right. Sometimes I talk and I know the word, but I don't know the tone, and I just kind of make it up. That's sometimes, okay? Yeah, but other than that, my cue cards are my way to go, and I'll just go and repeat my words. Like I'll have my cue cards and I'll go like whatever it is, and I'll just repeat it. And then also me and my friend quiz each other on cue cards every single week. So we video chat and or I guess we video chat twice a week, and we'll just go through the cue cards and I'll ask her, what is this? And then she'll answer it, and I'll correct her tones if need be, because I'll have the answer, and the same way the other way around. So we just we keep each other accountable. I feel like I wouldn't be as productive without her, especially in tones. But I feel like there's so many apps as well where like sometimes you have to talk into your phone, and like if you don't say it right, it doesn't make you move on to the next level. Ugh. But I mean, that's good for you, you know?
It can be a little tough, but yeah, tones. Learn them. That's why I said one word is okay, but you got to go to the phrases, because that's where the communication is at. So one word to two words together, tone pairs. If you need tone pair drills, then, and if you're not sure what those are, but they help, just Google it or YouTube it. Tone pairs, and then once you get past pairs, which just do it quick. Like Jin, are you like me where, because you started Chinese in university, they just gave you a test and like a deadline. They're like, you need to learn the sounds and the tones in the first how many ever weeks, because we're going to give you a test for a grade. Was that your experience too?
I actually feel like I was really, really lucky. My professor was absolutely incredible. And actually at my university, focus more on speaking and understand recognizing characters. We didn't have to write characters. They think that like as long as you can recognize them and like type them, then that's all you really need to know. Like writing that is you're not going to
practical teachers. My gosh,
I love it. I think it's great. Yeah. So like we actually spent like the first 2 weeks, essentially 6 classes, just on pronunciation of like the pinyin and tones, so that we would actually understand how the sounds work. Obviously, it's not like we understood it in those first 2 weeks, right? Like it takes time and it takes practice. So it was a bit more in depth than that, but I was pretty lucky. Like it wasn't just a test and like write down the tones and like then you'll just know how to say it. That's fine. No, like they actually went into it a bit more, which is really nice. So if you can find an opportunity to be able to practice that more, I think that's really helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yours was better than mine. In my university, in the Chinese classes, we did have to learn characters, and they forced us to learn tones and Chinese sounds in like the first 1 or 2 weeks, and we had it like tests. So, but the good news is that means that, especially if you're not in China, even if you have like a day job or you're just a busy student, that means you can learn tones if you just go for it and apply yourself for like, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. Just focus hard and get it done, because I can tell you right now, if you don't master the tones in the beginning and get to what I said earlier, which is like if you're just joining, I said basically start to try to read along with audio and phrases and get used to the intonation over an entire phrase. If you don't get the tones right, please listen to me. Get the tones right, because if you don't, you'll always be questioning yourself when you hear a word that you don't know. You'll wonder, was that the first tone or the third tone? Or if it's a pair of words, you'll be like, was that a first tone and a fourth tone? And then it undermines your confidence. It makes it a lot harder to just go and look up a word. If you see a character and you hear it, and you hear the pinyin, which is also you need to learn the pinyin too, it undermines your confidence, and you're always second guessing yourself, especially when you speak, which Chinese is already hard enough. You don't want to be second guessing yourself like 6 months from now. So please, 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 please learn the tones, get from one character to tone pairs and then to sentences as quickly as you can.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and I need to mention something that I love about your Instagram.
Oh,
is
thank you.
Your stories when you're like testing out like what tone is this, and people actually have to do that hey, not only have I learned new words from that, but I also have been tested. And yes, I have gotten the answer wrong sometimes, I've noticed. And so I feel like I am learning through those. So guys, Elementary Chinese, Instagram.
I'm looking for a picture of this now, but thank you, Jen.
Oh, they're fantastic. Like, honestly, and every single day you have them. And I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I need, these daily reminders. It's perfect. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, this one's not to do with tones. This one is more about grammar. So with grammar, I feel like it's kind of similar to English in a lot of ways, but then there's like every once in a while those like certain words that have to be used in a certain way. And like, do you have any advice and or like recommend anything so that people can better, I guess, understand some different aspects of grammar?
I don't like grammar. I really don't like grammar. I'm just gonna, well, I'm always like transparent, but grammar is hard for me because I really do spend a lot of time focusing on the communication and the connection. But like, let's be honest, grammar is necessary. So I'll tell you right now, the only thing you ever need for grammar is something called All Set. There's a website. It's created by Chinese OG teacher John Pasden. It's called All Set Learning.
All right.
I'm stalling because I'm Googling it right now. It's called the Chinese Grammar Wiki. There we go. Chinese Grammar Wiki, GRAMMAR, because I can spell. Chinese Grammar Wiki. So if you Google Chinese Grammar Wiki, and the first result on Google will be Chinese Grammar Wiki All Set Learning. Just go there for all of your grammar points, all of your HSK grammar points, and actually you don't want to bang your head against the computer screen. Like, they did a great job of organizing it with clear examples that actually like I can understand. And if I can understand it, you can, because I am not the grammar king. But if you have grammar questions, get there and learn there. That easy, and it's free. So yeah, just go there. And if you struggle with Hanzi, then just start learning to write them and practice them in flashcards. Like, that's the cool thing about the internet. There's so many resources there. But the good thing, if you're wondering about how to communicate with people, is you only need to study grammar up to an intermediate level.
Yeah.
And then after that, I found, after coaching so many adults who are learning Chinese, that once you get past intermediate grammar, it's usually not the grammar that's holding them back from communicating. It's the lack of understanding how Chinese people put their sentences together to communicate something they want, or just understanding of how the tones are throughout phrases together and the way of communicating. In which case, if you're already intermediate grammar level in a book, it's time to get yourself a language exchange partner and start speaking.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. Oh my goodness. Wow. You bring up like so many like good points. Especially, okay, I also want to mention like with grammar and like speaking, I think like a struggle that I've personally been going through is if you dropped me in China, I would be able to survive. You know, like I'd be able to go get around. I can communicate what I want to in like my phrases. But the thing is I find that Chinese grammar, like to an extent, is like when you're learning it, it is like pretty easy. But then it's like once you get to a certain point, it's like you always go back to those certain grammar points, and it's like you always use the same ones. And it's like, yes, that's great, you can communicate. It's just like maybe add new vocabularies and stuff. But sometimes I almost like personally, I just want to challenge myself more, and I want to be able to, I guess, learn new grammar structures. So what you also made up a good point that I want to understand more about how native Chinese speakers form their sentences. And I guess like I can only do that by maybe like reading or like by talking with them more and seeing how people get those phrases. So that's just something that I personally need to work on. If anybody else is in the same boat, let's do it together. Yes.
We're all in the same boat. It's not like, yes, my Chinese is good, but it's definitely not, well, I don't like the word fluent, because what does fluent actually mean? Like, I can talk to Chinese people on the day and have good conversations and fun and laughter and all that, but still, I am endeavoring to make sure and ask Chinese people, or really pay attention when I watch dramas, how are things said? Because here's the shortcut. if you've already learned a certain point in your book, it's only going to get you so far. And if you stick to only how the books teach us, then we come off sounding weird. But if you can get very good at just learning how to a phrase within that situation, and then when you experience that situation or you need that thing or to communicate that, you just parrot the similar structure of that phrase, but like swapping out the noun or swapping out the adjective, but it's that structure, then Chinese people, you can communicate better with them because you're speaking in a structure that they speak in. And that's sort of, it's just almost like copy and paste and see if it gets the result that the result was gotten when you, I can't speak now, but when you first encountered that phrase. So Chinese dramas and songs and things like this.
That is another fantastic point. Just that what you hear, repeat it, memorize it, and then say it in a valid situation.
And try. See what happens.
That's also something I'm going to start working on too when I go and watch dramas. I'm actually going to start studying them now, where I can actually like write down and memorize sentences, because then you can also learn multiple new words at the same time. Memorize a structure. So many different methods. I love all of this. Oh, okay. So there's one question here, and I find that this is a very important one for when you start learning, and it is, should I learn characters first or focus only on developing speaking and understanding skills? Now, I have some opinions about this.
Tell us your opinions. I want to hear your opinions.
My opinions is that I really think that like being able to learn how to read characters is actually extremely important. If you're messaging someone in Chinese, if you are if you're going to China and you're like maybe on an app or something, you need to be able to know how to read the characters. You can't, like, if you're going to like different shops or something, it would be very useful just to know it. I think that if you're first starting, it's important to learn the characters along with opinion. I think that that's good, unless your goal is, I guess, just to be able to speak and understand, like, unless that's your goal. But personally, like, if you're planning on going to China and you really want to be able to like message people, I think it's important. That's just my personal opinions. What about you, Kwadwo?
As a teacher, I believe in literacy. So most of the people here, like everybody that's at least chatting in the comments right now, you're literate because you can write English. So it's important in Chinese. However, and I will go into this at the launch of the opening of the DIY Chinese community, because I'm launching with a free workshop on Sunday about how to learn Chinese the best way. And that link to register is down below in the descriptions. But when I say best way, it's not what you think. And here's the thing about learning the right characters. Many of us are looking for the best way for me to learn the best method or the best one approach. But the issue is that you are a unique individual with unique circumstances, and the best way is the way that keeps you or guarantees that you'll be learning and improving and having fun a year from now, 2 years from now. That is your best way. And so I preface my statement right now with that, because while characters are important, I absolutely do not think that with your limited time, you should learn characters in the beginning if characters are just crazy hard for you, if you are trying to study them and you're just not that interested, it's frustrating you and it's bringing you closer to that point of giving up. Because I don't want you to give up in the beginning, and Chinese is like a crazy steep mountain, right? But like, it's like you wouldn't climb Mount Everest without a guide and a map. And there are different ways to climb up a mountain. You can take like the easier way, or you can, like, if you're crazy CrossFit ultra marathon runner, you can try to attack it. But the thing is, if you attack the mountain too hard, you might die. So in the beginning, like, I'm giving you permission to not do characters for like 6 months, maybe up for a year. But then it's time to play catch up. Once you have a better base and you're more excited about your progress, it's time to play catch up and learn those characters, because you're going to want to read signs. And like Jin is saying, it's completely exact. When you talk to Chinese people, if it's on WeChat or whatever social media, Hello Talk community, you know, the Tandem community, need characters because it's part of the language and culture, and you're missing out if you don't learn characters. But thankfully, you don't have to write them anymore. You can just type the pinyin.
Yeah, that's the best part. And then if you are like maybe looking for some strategies on like what are the best ways to maybe like learn how to memorize characters, I really feel that cue cards are a big way to go. And also what I did when I first started learning Chinese is my professor gave us these little worksheets and he said, write down these characters and they will be like our new vocabulary that we're learning or something. And we would have to write them over and over again in like a line, each character, and then we'd have to write down some sentences using those characters. So you're not only reviewing old characters, but you're also adding in new characters. So writing really helps me personally remember the character a lot, and also just repetition. So like cue cards a lot just really helps. And also something else is like you can like match up the character to like what it looks like. Like there's so many things that like you can just take a character and just be like, okay, well, kind of like if you look at Ren, right? Like it's literally based off of a person, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Backwards.
like this, kinda. But yeah, so you guys can kind of like I guess match up to what it kind of looks like. So those are some strategies for you.
Can you share with us? Like it could be because I'm not where you're from, but what is a cue card? Because those sound really good, but I want to learn. What is a cue card? What do you mean by cue card?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I almost forgot. Like some other people call these different things, like cue cards, flashcards.
Yeah. I guess. Oh, so same as a flashcard. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right.
Sorry, I completely forgot that other places call them different things.
It's fine. Why are you apologizing? That's like the beauty of the world. We all like are from different spots and we speak a little different. It's cool.
Yeah. Fun fact, love these little guys. You can put them on a keychain. So great. Okay. Anyway. So, I did have one question in particular. Somebody asked the difference between two characters and how to use them. Are we okay to go into that?
Why not? Let's dive into it. What two characters are they, though?
Let me show you. Zhe versus Zai. So let me go into why this was a question. I actually was trying to figure this out myself, and I'm kind of confused. So like if you're saying, let's say, I'm listening to you explain something, right? You could say 我在听你的解释, right? Like you could kind of say, I am, or you could say like 听着. Like how do you separate? This is something I don't even know. How do you separate the 在 versus the 着?
Share my screen? Because if I go into this without sharing, it's like, it's hard. So.
Sounds good. I'm waiting for your request here.
Okay, I'm sharing it. Oh man, but see, this is going to be bad. Bear with us, guys, if you really want to know. So like the whole format is if you say Zai, which that is the Zai character, and the pinyin looks like this, okay? You have to have Zai and then whatever verb you want. So like 我在 and then 走路, you know? 走路 is to walk. Okay, and that is what we call like a gerund form. It's happening right now. Could be called present progressive in English. Not sure. Don't quote me on that grammar because I don't like grammar, but it means we're doing something right now. We're in the middle of it, and Zai plus verb. You don't have to, if you take that same verb and you put ja after it, the thing is that also is gerund. You also are doing the verb right now.
Okay. So it's kind of like, would you describe it as like ing? Like
exactly.
I'm so both ways work.
That's why, that's why I put ing there. It just means that you're in the process of doing the verb right at the moment. So you just pick. Honestly, to make it very simple, you just pick. You can say 我在听, as in I am listening, 听 being the word for listening, 我在听. Or you can say like 听着. But actually, if you're saying that you are doing the thing, then use the first one. Almost always. This will make you sound a lot better. Okay? So if it's you doing the thing, then use this top one, 在, and then the verb. Okay? If you happen to be reading in a book or describing something else, then you can use the ja sometimes. But for me, if I was to make this super easy, I would make that one disappear and just use zai and never use ja again. Just recognize ja.
Okay.
Because like produce and speaking, you don't need to, and somebody is gonna like get all upset, but that's okay. You don't need to use ja when you're speaking and talking to people. And like, I can't think of a time in my 11, almost 12 years, no, almost 14 of living in China where I needed to use ja when I was speaking. It's mainly something that you want to recognize when you hear it. And honestly, you won't really hear it. You'll see it in the books. Chinese friends in the chat, please call me out if I'm wrong. I'm still a learner, just to say, like, I am hungry to learn. So call me out. But when you're speaking, you can use zai all day long. And if you need to read it, you can read ja and recognize. Because I know this from Chinese people right here. And so like, I'm humble enough to say, correct me in the chat if that's wrong. But friend, I would go with zai. Don't worry about ja. Just recognize ja, understand what it means. Gerund, ing.
Thank you for going into like a direct question about grammar for us. I think that
I hate grammar.
very helpful. I love how you explain it in such simple terms, because I feel like when you go online, sometimes it can be hard. Like I was trying to find out the difference here, and I could have just asked you, and it would have taken 30 seconds.
Another selfish self plug, but yeah, I mean that's come inside the DIY Chinese community.
I get that.
I mean, it's literally weekly video calls. Like, I'm giving you the structure to make all the progress you need in the way that you need specifically for your situation. But on the weekly Zoom calls, like, this is the kind of stuff we can go into. Like I said, I'm qualified to teach Chinese. I'd rather teach how to learn it, but I can do a little grammar.
Love
I
it.
like grammar. The link is down in the descriptions below, folks.
Yes, exactly.
ElementaryChinese.com/Jin.
Yeah. You can use my link. I have a link. All right. So I guess let's make this the last one, because we're almost at an hour here of this live. So let's make this the last question. I have tons of questions maybe for next week. We're going to go live again next week. Yes, I love this. Going live is so much fun. Why have I never done this more? I love it. Okay.
You're good at it.
Yay. So favorite websites and videos to help practice Chinese. Again, I think this is more of like a dramas, watch YouTube videos. There are also some really interesting resources online. Like you can just use apps like Tandem or something to make language partners. Also, there's like language extensions. Like I think there was actually somebody who mentioned it in the comments earlier too. It's called Language Learning with Netflix. Absolutely love it. I'm going to be making a video talking about it too and more in depth about what it is.
Oh, please. I will share that.
It is amazing. So basically you can watch a Chinese show on Netflix. And once you turn on this browser extension, it will you can choose how you kind of want to go about your learning process, but it'll show the characters, like the Chinese characters. It can show the pinyin and the translation, and you can hover over each individual character to find out more about what it means and how to use it. Extremely useful. So that's just a top tip thing to use from me. But yeah, do you have anything else that you want to add to this one?
So videos, then YouTube. I guess we're on YouTube. Of course, I'm going to say YouTube. Two things. I always recommend Peppa Pig because it's super simple. Some people really hate that show, but it's really simple and it's on YouTube and it's free. And if you're looking for one easier to understand piece of like media, then that's it, because there are characters. If you find the channels that have it with characters, subtitles, and every situation that Peppa Pig and her little Didi Chalger, shout out if you know in the comments if you watched it, but they're always in the day-to-day situations, you know, at various places that folks work, but usually with their parents around the house. And so much time we just don't have the day-to-day, the knowledge of what's going on in day-to-day life. When I started, I used another website called Chinese Pod. It's I believe it's paid though, and which paid isn't bad. Usually paid means better curated content and better approach and faster learning. It certainly does in my case, but I used Chinese Pod in the beginning because they have everything. And while everything can be overwhelming, at the same time, they have worksheets and podcasts and lessons where you can hear the audio like in your car, and you can download like 5 or 8 worksheets per lesson. And if you want to do the characters, and they have character writing, maybe they don't have character writing, but they have a lot wrapped around every language lesson that they have. So
that's a good resource. It sounds really like everything's kind of in place, which is nice, but
it's okay, but it can be overwhelming, and you can, if you don't have your way set, then you might lose your way there. Inside of the DIY Chinese community, which I'll talk about in the workshop where I'm teaching. Hi.
Yes. Go into your DIY challenge. Tell us more about it.
Oh, well, first of all, you'll learn about it Sunday if you come and just learn the best way to learn Chinese, because I'll go in depth to how you can decide the best way to learn Chinese, and then how you'll be able to make progress, and how you'll be able to make a study plan for yourself. But the reason I mentioned the DIY Chinese community at this moment was because in there, people are sharing what they're doing, and I keep hearing about the app Tandem as a good app to find a Chinese language partner to practice with. And honestly, with all the materials out on the internet to study with, I think you're gonna be better off finding somebody to practice with earlier on, like you did, Jen, because that will help you make sure that you're actually getting real progress, being able to communicate. And so I feel like maybe somebody you can write in the descriptions if you're struggling with finding a material to study, but usually we can find materials to study, but we're not practicing speaking. So Tandem, Tandem.
Yeah, I used Tandem actually to find my language partners, and I got so close with my language partner, or like one of my language partners.
Oh, that's good.
I went to China to go and visit like that city and to actually meet them in person. So it was such an incredible experience. Like, you really can make good friends. And also there's one of my language partners, we talked twice a week on video call. One of the days was in English, the other day was in Mandarin only. So it's like you're not kind of going back and forth between languages. It's very like you're in the environment. This is your hour of studying. Let's do it. And find someone who you get along with too. It's a really good resource, I think, for practical speaking. Yeah.
That is cool. All right.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We're really approaching this 1 hour mark. I'm really impressed with our progress here. We've gone through so much information. Is there anything else you want to kind of talk about your thing on Sunday, or the DIY community that you want to kind of introduce to everyone right now?
Just that obviously I'm the creator of it. It is not a free thing. So you're like, of course this guy would say go learn. All I can do is share stories from people that are inside and tell you it does a really good job of helping you out if you are studying on your own. You're a DIYer, you're a self-studier, and you are living outside of China. Lots of folks that are in there right now are from the States, the US of A, a couple from Canada, and like a couple people from Europe. And I mean, look, I put it together with an accountability team structure because the issue with studying on our own is it's on our own. And if we want to make progress, we tend to do better if we're held accountable in a fun way. If we have a team of people that are around us, like that's why you hear things like, oh, birds of a feather flock together, and iron sharpens iron. And you're like the sum of the 5 closest people you meet in like personality and income and all this. Like, it really doesn't matter who you get with. And so if you don't have people who are studying, but you're looking for motivation, like if you've been frustrated because you haven't figured out the progress or how to progress like you want, but you still got like this Chinese goal and dream and desire in your heart, and you want to learn from me every week, because I'll give you the strategy, but you want a group of people who are excited and going in the same direction, then you're the kind of person, especially if like you have a day job and you're like in the US or Canada, you know, because that's the time zone I'm on right now. Like, you're the kind of person who gets a ton of help from inside the Chinese community, DIY Chinese community. It's only open like 3 times a year, maybe twice. And it's opening up for registration Monday, the 27th through 26th, Sunday the 26th through Friday, July 31st. Otherwise, there's a wait list. When you go to elementarychinese.com/Jin, you can hop on the wait list. But right now, if you go to there, then you can sign up for the free workshop I'm doing, where I will give you, like, I'm not giving you fluff. Hopefully you got that today. I'm bringing you value, like really good strategies. And so we'll have a worksheet, we'll have a workshop. You will leave Sunday knowing the best way to study for yourself and how to put together a simple study plan that you can keep repeating and keep making progress and achieving. So if you want to know more, come check me out. Like, I'd be happy to say hi and help you learn Chinese. And that is all I have to say. The link is in the descriptions.
Amazing. Okay, so you guys have to go check out the link. I honestly feel that accountability is such a big thing, and getting to learn from you, someone who literally teaches practical stuff in 30 seconds rather than to go on the internet and learn it, trying to find things out. I think it would be really useful. And if you guys have the opportunity, if you guys have the chance to, I really think that you should do it. So check out the link, and then you guys can find out more info. So yeah, honestly, I'm very excited about this. Also, we're going to be going live again next week at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Same time Wednesday. Same time today.
If you guys want to come back next week as well, I have a bunch more questions that we didn't get to today lined up as well. And you can also leave more questions in the comments or in the chat so that we can address them next week. I'm super excited for that. But thank you guys all so much for coming and attending and watching this 1 hour long live stream. I hope things. I hope you feel inspired and motivated. I know I do. I'm super excited. Thank you again so much, Kwadwo, for coming on here and talking about learning Chinese with us. Honestly, super respect, super admire, and very grateful. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. You got a cool fam here. I'm seeing the comments. It's just love. I don't even see any hate. That is rare for a YouTube chat session. So your fam on YouTube is cool. It was an honor being here.
Love them. Okay. Well, we'll see you guys next week then. And yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys all for watching. Bye.
Bye.